In leading the educational programs, Genius Garage, for now the better part of 10 years. Genius Garage is a 501c3 public educational charity. It exists, frankly, through kind donations of people, sometimes of money, thankfully, but oftentimes of cars. So sometimes things pop up, people reach out because they see what's going on, they love it, and they want to help empower teaching young people in the future and help launch in their careers. And sometimes the cars are very special, and the people that wish to donate them see that it will live on and have a new life in the future, and that they feel that's the best home. It's been exciting. It's a great way to teach, obviously, with the race cars and the Lotus Exosphere coming in for that reason. But we had a very unusual thing pop up that I didn't even know what it was because it was exceptionally rare. It was before my time, but it turned out to be incredibly cool. It was a car called the Guanchi SSJ. No, I had never heard of it. But it was an American mid-engine car from the late 70s that was V8 powered. And I'm like, what? What is this? But it was really nice. The person who reached out to me was the son of the man who was trying to start a new car company and build these prototypes and sell cars. And I just flat out didn't know. I felt bad. I'd like to think of myself as knowing most cars, but every once in a while there's something really rare. And this thing had the coolest story. Back in 1977, we're talking Corvettes were in the C3. And the C3 Corvette was a cool car, but all the way up until the early 80s when that was built, that's still the same chassis and suspension that came out in 1963. The C3 Corvettes are the same basic chassis and running gear and everything as the C2s, just basically a completely different body. And they were getting along in the tooth. General Motors had made the mid-engine Corvette concept back when, the rotary powered one, of course, didn't see the light of day. And it took until our modern times now before Corvettes, in fact, became mid-engine. People back in the day were not dumb, okay? I mean, we had incredible race cars, much before then. Mid-engine, of course. So America has the ability to produce awesome things. Why aren't we making a cooler sports car? A lot of people thought that, of course. And a particular gentleman named John Guanchi in Chicago was a businessman who had done quite well. And he thought that needed to happen. So he set out to get people and come up with a concept and build a prototype car. Work started that in 1977, and they finished it by 1979. It was shown at the 1979 Chicago Auto Show. And that was the Guanchi SSJ, which stood for Super Sports John, the prototype. Actually, a really pretty car. It was powered by the 270 horsepower General Motors V8 from the Corvette at the time, mid-engined. And it was a really cool GT car, a Grand Tour, but mid-engine. Effectively, what the Corvette should have made even back then is mid-engine with a proper V8 in that regard. But it was very expensive when it was shown. Something like $54,000 in 1979. That is, I'm guessing, like 5 times what a Corvette is. I'd read that at the time. I mean, a lot of money for a car. It was an amazing car, actually. I came to learn that somebody that I'd met in the past and really looked up to, Bob McKee, in the Chicago area. Bob was famous for designing and building his own Can-Am cars under his own name, the McKee Can-Am cars, as well as Formula 5000. And when he's a younger man, worked in IndyCar teams with Monza. Bob McKee was just an absolute brilliant engineer with race cars, chassis design, suspension, etc. So John Guanchi got Bob McKee to design the chassis, which is an aluminum monocoque. Fascinating. 1979 was when it was first showed. And then Dick Klaber, who apparently later went on to the Vector Car Company, he designed and made all the braking systems and suspension right. So he was the guy in charge of that. And then Mike Williams, who was a Chrysler designer, designed the body. And it had been said that a consultant also at the time was Alessandro De Tomaso as well. So pretty serious people were behind designing this car. It wasn't just some wacky thing down at the garage. I mean, this is a proper prototype car built back then. So there were 2 cars done in 79. They're quite expensive. They sold one to a wealthy enthusiast that was excited to be the first one. The other one apparently had stayed in the hands of Guanchi. But things started to change a lot in the world then. There was oil embargoes, issues with money, and spending that much money on a car like that at the time was difficult. There was a 3rd prototype made a little later, which was powered by a Buick V6. And I know this because I believe that is the one we had. The Genius Garage now has. And in the 90s, the family wanted to update it. And it now has an Oldsmobile V8 automatic with fully updated gauges to that time. So it actually, the lineage went along with it. And that's how the car sits now. It was never left outside to rot or anything. It's been sitting for a long, long time, covered in dust, just as the barn find you'd find. Some of the upholstery, which has really cool Recaro seats and a cool, white and blue corduroy interior. Still looks nice, but it's going to have to be carefully taken off, cleaned nicely, and then re-glued because the glues, things are sagging and whatnot. But genuinely, the car, it'll be exciting to bring that out and for the Genius Garage students to be able to experience that for a number of reasons. One, it's fun to bring an old car back to life. It won't require silly amounts of work. It's largely cleaning it up, making it nice, understanding the systems. But it's a really neat way for the students now, these engineering students, to see something that was a prototype done back then that was cutting edge for them and still has relevancy today in the designer, but also just the experience at being, 1 degree of separation to those amazing designers and engineers of the time, and to see what they thought of and what they did. And I think that's pretty brilliant. And I'm excited to do that with the students because that's also a way for them to see things being created in a different way for manufacturing. And that's one of the reasons why I love doing Genius Garage and utilizing cars and airplanes through history, because it's still relevant today. And there's many aspects of the way cars have been designed. I don't care if it's pre-war to 50s, 60s now. Techniques that we wouldn't think of today, if you have experience and knowledge of it, can influence your ability to come up with new techniques and new manufacturing techniques and understand it and just make some better engineers. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun. It meant a lot too because the person that reached out to me was the son of John Guanci. And he had been seeing VinWiki. He was a VinWiki fan and loving the stories. Saw my stories, obviously checked in a Genius Garage and saw what has been going on the last 10 years and what we've been doing and what we stood for. And reached out and got thinking, and we talked about it. Just felt adamant that that was the right potential home for it to be and have a life and experience. And I'm excited to be able to have that and share that experience with the students and also to showcase it for people to see, because the whole world, in a way, through Genius Garage gets to see it and live that and understand the history and be part of it and watch that car come to life again and drive once again. And obviously students that help launch their careers. It's exciting when, in some ways, forgotten history or things of the past, they get to have, in a way, a new home and a new caretaker for the future and serve an even more noble purpose. Because, of course, it would be a shame if something like that was forgotten or just left to the back pages of a history car book. But it means a lot. Obviously, it feels good to have people care about what I put so much love and blood, sweat, and tears in to make go and try to make the world a little better than how I felt it was when I was a young person wanting to try to find my way in life in a direction. So that certainly means a lot, but it's such a cool car. It was a heck of a time trying to get it in the trailer, though, because it, of course, didn't run. Unfortunately, the brakes weren't completely tied up, but it didn't push too well, as cars do when they sit too long. And the only way we had to get it in the trailer well was the man who donated the son. He had his lawn and garden tractor, his lawnmower. We put soft things on it, and there was a hard place where we could push it in on the bumper safely. But I was really nervous about it because I'm like, the lawnmower wasn't made to do that. It wasn't made to push there, and it didn't really have the clutches and stuff that was strong enough to do that. So we might have ruined his lawnmower. I appreciate the effort, but yeah, the clutch was definitely smoking a little on the way in, and the front broke, and that scared me because I was afraid it was going to break, and then part of it was going to come and smash the prototype taillights. It's like, ah. But we got it in safely, and I don't think the brakes were working in the car. It's been a long time since it's been used, so getting in the trailer safely, we had one shot. But got it in safely and strapped down and brought back to the shop. Now, nobody knows about it because we didn't announce it yet. Partially just because of the amount we had going on in Genius Garage with the Daytona prototype and starting to love the Exosphere and getting ready. But I'm so excited for 2023 for Genius Garage because that is our 10-year anniversary. That will be the 10th season. And I know that's just a number, but it's pretty cool that something like that can make it, shall we say, at least that long. It's had an influence, it's had a value to more people than just the students. I've seen at least been hundreds of people write me emails over the last number of years saying how they've been inspired by Genius Garage and young people going out with engineering or building cars and doing it. So it's exciting that something like that was a dream of a Chicago businessman that made the prototype, made a real car, made a dent, and was championing American manufacturing and ingenuity and engineering, did something great back then. It didn't get to come to the fruition that they wanted back then, but in 2022 and 3 and beyond, it gets to serve a big purpose.
We'd like to thank Glossit for supporting the VinWiki channel this month, and right now Glossit is offering the best DIY ceramic coating package that we've ever seen or certainly offered here on VinWiki. For just $69.99, you're going to get their graphene ceramic coating along with the Real Difference Maker. their ceramic detail spray. Now, that's a $50 bottle of spray detailer that I truly love just for daily use. But when you use that alongside their graphene ceramic coating, it makes the removal a lot easier, the outcome a lot smoother. You avoid high spots and things like that. So a DIY idiot like me in my own garage can achieve an outcome pretty similar to what Rich and his team were able to do last year on the Paris Hilton SLR, which I eventually torture tested on rallies and road trips and all this stuff, and it is now in Bulgaria, still looking wonderful. So check it out now at the link in the description below. There's a very limited quantity, so respond now and get yours for just $69.99. Thanks, Glossit.